The stand for this thing stands 42 inches from the ground to the jaws, is 26 inches deep, and I don't remember how wide it was, but at the front it's wide enough it's pretty stable. It's made entirely from scrap 2x6 and 2x4 1/8-inch wall rectangular steel. The rod is hollowed tubing and square stock that I cut up and mangled and welded nuts in the appropriate places to give it a little bit of adjustability. Since it seems to be working out so well, what I will probably do is go through and fix this and make this something a little bit more smooth operating and try and shorten the foot stroke eventually. I started out by getting a rough idea of where I needed the bottom to be cut a little shorter so it was easier to thread the bolts on there. Left enough steel that it's still rigid. Cut the section off with a bandsaw and then cut out the scalloped area where I was going to be able to put the bolts underneath. I used the old bracket to mark the holes and drilled them out, and then cut the upright to what I was hoping was going to be the right height, and it actually ended up that I used the ruler appropriately. Yay! Used a cutoff wheel to cut off the angle. This was just a little too big to actually fit the bandsaw well. Poor lighting and a little bit blurry on the photo there. Sorry about that. But once I had it together, I clamped it up on the welding table, tack welded the legs in place before I did a trial run to make sure everything was appropriately where I needed it. Then bent the bar that I was going to use as the connecting rod. This comes out of the top of the shrinker stretcher. Welded a couple of washers onto some square stock and then cut those off to use the connecting things. Punched a couple of holes in the narrow end of the upright, and this is going to create the groove where the connecting rod will pass through. Drilled a pilot hole with a little bit, then drilled them out with a hole saw, connected the edges, and cut the channel out completely with a cutoff wheel. Once I had that done, I used a piece of salvaged 1/4-inch scrap metal that I don't even know where I got it, but drilled a hole in that and then in the upright, and used a series of spacers to connect the foot pedal to give it a pivot point. As it turns out, I probably should have thought that through a little bit. The foot stroke is still a little long, but it's doable. It just means a lot of stomping motion to actually get it to work. I'll deal with that later. Finished tack welding everything in place, gave it another test run to make sure it was all acceptable, and then went through and welded everything back, or welded everything together. Once I had everything welded up, I gave it a good cleaning with some 80 grit and a palm sander. Make sure I had all the mill scale and rust and anything else that would have accumulated while it was laying around in the garage. Then wiped it down with some acetone. Once again, make sure there was no WD-40 or cutting oil from where I was working on it. Sprayed it with a can of rattle can, and then went over that with a couple cans of Rust-Oleum enamel that actually, as it turns out, I was pretty happy with it. It dries real hard and is chemical resistant so far. It's been on there for a little while now, and it seems to take a pretty good beating. The last thing that I did was I went through and sprayed the bottom with a leftover coat of rubberized bed liner that I picked up for a small project that I wanted to try it out on. So far, the entire thing works real well. It beats the hell out of trying to use that handle that comes with the factory thing. It just didn't work out. Pretty happy with it, so I'll probably spend a little more time and effort getting it upgraded and put some better connecting joints in there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, and have a great day.